Transportation is key to a successful, thriving metropolitan area, and FasTracks is a major component of our transportation plans. Where are we with FasTracks now, and where are we going? We'll find out on this edition of Metro Voices. Bridges are going up, stations are being built, track is being laid. All across the metro area, you can see signs of FasTracks at work. FasTracks was approved by voters in 2004. Since then, 81 miles of rail and bus rapid transit are under construction. Hi, I'm Wendy Brockman. We're here at the Lakewood Wadsworth Station. This is the first rail line to be built and funded through the FasTracks project, and it is on track to open April 26th, 8 months ahead of the original schedule. The FasTracks system will build 6 new rail lines when it's completed. 5 of these lines are currently under construction. This is the Decatur Federal Station, west of downtown Denver. Plans are underway to connect communities all across the metro area. The Southwest and Southeast rail lines are currently operational, and both lines will eventually be extended south from their current routes. There is also a Central rail line extension plan. Light rail construction is already done on the West rail line, which will connect Golden to downtown. And the I-225 rail line through Aurora is underway, which will connect with the East rail line to DIA. Plans are in the works for commuter rail for the North Metro rail line from downtown to Thornton. And the first segment of the Northwest rail line, planned to extend to Longmont, is under construction. There will also be a US 36 bus rapid transit line between Denver and Boulder. Commuter rail lines are being constructed on the Gold Line to Ward Road in Wheat Ridge and on the East Line to the airport. Trains will be running on these lines in 2016. And Denver Union Station is being remodeled to serve as a multimodal regional transportation hub. The historic building will be transformed into a boutique hotel, restaurants, and shops. When it's all finished, FasTracks will provide 122 miles of new train service, 18 miles of bus rapid transit service, more than 21,000 new parking spaces, and redirected bus service to better connect the region. Besides connecting our communities, all of this means more jobs and money for our economy. It's estimated that 7,000 jobs will be created annually during peak construction, and $1.5 billion of federal funds will help build FasTracks. Approximately $10.1 billion of spending will be generated by FasTracks in the metro area between 2005 and 2019. And once the project is complete, $150 million in wages and salaries per year will be added to the metro economy. By increasing accessibility and transit options, FasTracks will help attract business to the region. RTD's expanding system is already attracting large and small employers to areas where future trains will travel, providing customers, clients, and employees with convenient transportation to the entire region. Wow, exciting stuff. Now joining me in the studio for this first segment of our show on FasTracks are some of our elected officials from around the area. Kent Bagley is first vice chair of the RTD Board of Directors, Aurora City Council member Bob Roth, and Heidi Williams, the mayor of Thornton. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a big project this is. Kent, let's start with you. Can you kind of give us a little history on FasTracks? We just saw that the West Line, opening in spring, will be the first completed FasTracks line, but we've had light rail for a while.
Yes, we have had light rail for a while. The first major corridor that was extended, not part of FasTracks, was into Littleton, and that's about 10 miles from downtown Denver to Littleton, which happens to be my hometown, and that's where I live. And then in about 2005, the southeast extension was part of the T-Rex was completed. Really critical components, and really demonstrated the economic development opportunities, both of those corridors. And I think that that's one of the major factors in reference to what FasTracks can do. Tom Clark, a member of the Denver Metro Chamber, says that FasTracks is probably one of the most important economic development generators for the region outside of the airport. So I think it's really exciting to see what's going on.
Bob, until fairly recently, Aurora's FasTracks line, the I-225 line, was not underway, and we thought maybe it wouldn't be for some time. What happened there?
Well, and you're correct. We thought it would be, certainly not in my lifetime, that it would probably happen. So we were obviously very pleasantly surprised when unsolicited RFP came through to RTD that allowed that to move forward. Kiewit Construction did a great job of proposing. They were the only proposal that actually completed the line. Other proposals that were given to RTD just did a portion of the line. So this one actually completed the line in a construction schedule that made sense. And it's going to absolutely change the face of Aurora. It's going to be the new Main Street of Aurora, and it's going to change Aurora, at least in those areas, from being less of a suburban area and a little more urban. So
Right.
we're really excited.
And we're going to talk a little more about the public-private partnerships in our next segment. Mayor Williams, the North Metro rail line, which will connect Thornton to the downtown area and the rest of the metro area, is in the planning stage now. It's not under construction. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that now RTD has, we believe, found funding to figure out how to get to the 72nd station, which is not in Thornton, it's in Commerce City. But the hope of getting to 72nd Avenue is to qualify for federal funding, which will allow the line to get from 72nd in Commerce City at least to 104th Avenue, which really increases our ridership. But our hope is always to get to the end of line, which is about 162nd and Colorado Boulevard. So we're very excited about this first step and excited about the process and how to get to the rest of the line, to the end of the line.
Do you have kind of a tentative timeline?
I have my hope. I would love to see the line get pretty far into Thornton by 2022. I think that this is a really good start in getting there. And we're just going to remain hopeful and keep pushing RTD and trying to get our line done.
So Kent, how do you decide which communities get light rail first?
Well, Wendy, that's a really excellent question, and I think that what it comes down to is ridership. And the proposals for ridership, that's one of the reasons that the West Corridor was selected as the first corridor to be constructed from FasTracks, because the forecasts for ridership along that corridor were very beneficial, and there's a lot of riders, and it's a much different kind of line that goes through Lakewood out to the center for Golden, Jefferson County Justice Center. Very, very different in the fact that it's quite dense along all of that corridor. Mm-hmm. So ridership really makes a difference. We're continually updating our ridership forecasts along with the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and that's really one reason that the North Metro corridor that Mayor Williams mentioned is taken on some new character because of that increased ridership.
So your constituents are going to ride it?
Oh yeah, especially once it gets to 104th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That picks up a whole new area,
It
doesn't
does, yes.
Is FasTracks still committed to building out the entire metro area?
I would say that from the perspective of the RTD board and the RTD staff with General Manager Phil Washington as our leader, clearly is interested in looking at the entire FasTracks program, the timing and the issue of how much money do we have. As you know, the board decided not to go for a vote in 2012. That was the fourth year in a row that we decided not to go for a vote for increased taxes. We are really scrubbing the budget and looking at ways that we can build, and that's one of the reasons for increasing the North Metro line from the stock show to 72nd, and really being able to put together the funds in a new FasTracks investment account. So I would say yes, there are going to be some challenges in the Northwest area. That's why we're doing a mobility study which will be done probably by early 2014, to find out what's going to be the best way to provide mobility and transit services in the Northwest area to Longmont.
Well, Bob, the city of Aurora is making it happen. I mean, do you have any recommendations to other cities?
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing is, quite honestly, patience. I sit on the board of DRCOG, and I know that my fellow board members on that committee who don't have FasTracks in their immediate future express a little bit of frustration sometimes. But I would just remind them that a year ago, Aurora was in the same position, and we didn't think that we would be getting our light rail, and now we are. So you never know what's in the works, and I just preach patience.
Patience. Did you hear that, Heidi?
I did. It's not one of my strong suits, but.
Well, what would you like RTD and the residents of the north side of the town to know about that FasTracks line?
Well, the first thing I'd like the residents to know is that all of the elected officials on the North Line and in the cities and Adams County are working really hard to talk to RTD, to work with RTD, to kind of push RTD, to keep working on our line, because as they know, the ridership will be very big once it gets to 104th, and we don't want the line to just stop at 72nd. We want to make sure that it keeps going and that it keeps the momentum. And true, just like Aurora, a year ago I was elected mayor, and I thought, I don't think this is ever going to happen, just based on what I was hearing in the meetings I was attending, and now I'm having a lot more optimism. So I think it's going to happen, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Kent, how does RTD work with communities to handle the disruption? Anyone who's been on I-225 lately knows that it's kind of a mess right now, but it's temporary. How do you, I don't know, help that process along?
Well, I think one of the major issues is a collaboration between local governments and RTD and our contractors that are involved to really have the local community understand what we're doing. And I know I was at a meeting here last night, and the whole issue of the planning department and the public works department really dedicating people to work with RTD and the contractors. I think that's what it is. It's a collaboration, and it's got to be continual. It can't be sort of off and on. It has to be continual. So consistency is really critical.
And maybe just a few closing thoughts from each of you. We'll start with you, Mayor Williams.
Yeah, I just want to thank RTD for the work that they've been doing to continue to get the North Line done. In 2004, our voters voted for a regional effort to complete the line. And I think that's truly the most important thing, is that we just continue to work together to complete the line and make sure that we all get the FasTracks that we paid for.
Bob?
You know, I think I'd probably say the same word I said a minute ago, and that's patience, and that's for the city of Aurora. You know, our citizens are going to be affected over the next 2 years of construction, and every east-west major corridor going through Aurora is going to be affected during this construction process. So the end result is going to be more than worth the effort, but the next 2 years is going to require patience.
You would concur?
I absolutely would. I think the thing that I would say in closing is that RTD board directors and the staff, we need to think regionally. That's why it's called the Regional Transportation District. Each director, there are 15 of them, we need to think regionally and cooperate with other directors on what's happening with this project. And I think that that's really important. I think the other thing I would say is that since FasTracks, every local government, as part of FasTracks, has changed their comprehensive plans because they know that that changes their community, as Bob said, to one that has more urban centers, and that's really critical.
We've seen it happen.
Yes.
All right, my thanks to you, Kent, Bob, and Heidi, for all joining us here today. Exciting
Thank you
stuff.
so much.
And when we return, we'll talk to some community leaders to learn more about the completion of FasTracks. First, let's look at some of the successes and challenges of the project. Denver's Regional Transportation District is taking innovation to a new level as it implements its multi-billion-dollar FasTracks Transit Expansion Program. Since FasTracks was passed by voters of the Denver metro area in 2004, the agency was hit hard by significant increases in the cost of construction materials like copper, concrete, steel, and diesel fuel, and plummeting sales tax revenues due to the recession. This perfect storm left RTD and other public entities building major infrastructure projects with the challenge of how to keep those projects moving forward, given funding shortfalls. RTD has pursued partnering with the private sector in unique public-private partnerships to keep FasTracks on track. 3 FasTracks projects, the East Line to Denver International Airport, the Gold Line to Arvada and Wheat Ridge, and the first segment of the Northwest Rail Line are being built through a unique public-private partnership. Through this P3, public-private partnerships as they're often called, the private sector is investing money on the front end to get the projects built and open to the public. They will then operate and maintain those train lines for nearly 30 years, and RTD pays back the P3 team over that long-term period. The concept is much like a home mortgage. Denver Union Station is also being redeveloped through a creative funding approach as the iconic site is transformed into the mixed-use transportation hub of the region. And RTD's call for innovation in 2011 to large and small construction, financial, and engineering firms has already resulted in an unsolicited proposal that will now complete the I-225 rail line by the end of 2015. With all these innovations, FasTracks has become nationally and internationally recognized as a model for transportation systems.
We came to Denver because we heard you've done a lot of things right and you've made a lot of progress, and we wanted to learn from you. We understand from a lot of sources that Denver has done some things right, and in fact many things right, and we're here to see how you got those things done and see if we can extract some lessons from that we can use in Detroit.
Making every dollar count is especially important in challenging economic times, which is why RTD continues to seek a combination of local, federal, and private funds to keep FasTracks moving forward. As the Denver metro region plans for the growth of another 1.4 million people by 2035, it's essential that RTD and its regional partners continue to collaborate to get FasTracks completed. And now joining me are Bill Van Meter, RTD Assistant General Manager of Planning, Brad Calvert with the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and Tony Milo with the Colorado Contractors Association. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bill, let's start with you. Given the financial challenges that RTD has had with FasTracks, including the recession, how have you had to think differently to make this project happen?
Well, we've really had to take an approach where we seek innovation and partnerships. And I think those are kind of 2 key themes that we've really focused on in the past years to try to keep advancing and progressing. And we've made significant progress on kind of both of those fronts. So in terms of partnerships, I'm thinking of partnerships and speaking of partnerships with the private sector to bring innovation, the other word I mentioned, to our projects in terms of how do we construct the projects, how do we finance the projects in FasTracks, and how do we keep the whole program moving forward. We're also always diligent in our pursuit of funding opportunities to bring additional monies to bear and to help us deliver the full FasTracks program. So we've had some real success with bringing in federal grant dollars for the West Corridor and our Eagle project, which is the line from Denver Union Station to Denver International Airport, and also to Arvada and Wheat Ridge along the Gold Line. So looking for innovative ways to work with the private sector and the public sector through partnerships to really keep the program moving forward and to deliver big new projects.
Well, in fact, you held a forum called Transformation Through Transportation in 2011 to appeal to the private sector. What did you hope to achieve through that effort?
Well, what we did in that Transformation Through Transportation project, the T3 we called it, was invited representatives from engineering, construction, financial, and other industries throughout the U.S. to a forum to inform them about our challenges and our successes on FasTracks and for RTD as an agency as a whole, and to seek innovative ideas from them for moving our program forward, looking for those very partnerships I mentioned earlier. And at the same time, we also developed a new unsolicited proposal policy for RTD, which allowed us to, or allowed the private sector to make proposals for FasTracks projects or other projects that could benefit RTD, and allowed us to seek that innovation from the private sector, allowed the private sector to give us unsolicited proposals. As a result of that, the I-225 corridor, the light rail corridor extending light rail from Parker Road to Peoria and Smith along I-225 and through Fitzsimmons, was an unsolicited proposal that was presented to us, and we were able to move on that and commit to building that project, and we're going to have a groundbreaking in the coming weeks.
I know, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Brad, what is Dr. Cog's role in the completion of FasTracks?
We're involved in a lot of different ways, but I think the three primary roles that we have are, we have a review role, we also are involved in regional collaboration, and we also have a funding role. In terms of the review role, annually we work with RTD to understand their reported progress to date on the project. And we also have a role in reviewing sort of financial assumptions associated with the project, largely just to identify if there are any regional issues that warrant attention. On the regional collaboration front, the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or Dr. COG for short, is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Denver region. So MPOs in Denver but around the country are really involved with making sure that as we allocate very scarce federal transportation dollars, we're doing it in a way that really meets the region's goals. And they were working from a regional transportation plan that comes from a shared vision of the future for the Denver region. And then on the funding side of things, our board has actually committed $120 million to support the completion of FasTracks. That's something that can support the core FasTrack system, or something that you can contribute to projects that are supportive of the program overall, whether that is multimodal access to stations, that sort of thing. And those projects largely have to come from a consensus of folks along the corridor that see those as critical projects to support the program overall. And really, to take a step back, we see FasTracks as a really critical component in terms of reaching other regional goals that Dr. Cog has established, whether that's reducing air pollution, or getting workers to work, or meeting the needs of a growing older adult population. Just to spend a second on that last topic, I think it's something that maybe people don't realize, that in 2004, when FasTracks was approved, 1 in 8 people in the Denver region were over the age of 60. Over the next 20 years, that's going to double. So 1 in 4 people will be over the age of 60 in the Denver region in the next 20 years or so. And we really see something like FasTracks as being a really, really critical component to making sure that we can create communities that will allow people to live independently as they age.
Something you don't always think about.
Yep.
Tony, the recession hit the construction industry very hard. So how important is it for agencies to reach out to the industry, as RTD did, with their call for innovation? I mean, is that something that appealed to you as a contractor?
Absolutely. It's critical, in fact, especially right now. While this country and Colorado was in a deep recession, the construction industry was actually in a depression. The unemployment rate in the construction industry continues to be about double that of the unemployment rate statewide and nationwide. We're at about 19 to 20% unemployment in the construction industry. So projects like FasTracks are the one bright spot in this economy that is creating thousands of jobs. Every billion dollars spent on civil construction creates about 26,000 jobs locally. So you can see where the projects of FasTracks are really buoying the whole Colorado and Denver area, but also the whole Colorado economy, because those jobs do have a multiplier effect. Those people who get hired to do construction on FasTracks purchase goods and services, and it's that multiplier effect that helps economic development in Colorado. And yes, I think that to RTD's credit, they found ways to get the projects done where traditional construction methods may not have gotten it done.
Right.
And so the innovation that Bill mentioned has been so critical. And our members, the contractors who are building the projects, have really embraced that call for innovation. And created new ways to deliver the projects and new ways of sharing risk and responsibility to get these projects done.
Brad, cities, counties in the state have all been hit hard by the recession, and we've all had to find ways to adjust. But how important is regional collaboration to a regional transportation plan like this?
It's absolutely fundamental. I mean, the thing about FasTracks is that it's a regional in its creation, implementation, financing, and benefits. And so that regional collaboration really is critical. It's been something that has been critical all along the way, whether it was the initial vote back in 2004 or really going forward now as we're in the implementation phase. As things change and there's a need to adjust schedules, building that consensus takes regional collaboration. As Bill mentioned, this has been a project that has been really beneficial in terms of bringing federal dollars into the Denver region to contribute to the successful completion of FasTracks. And so going forward, it's going to be something that we're going to have to continue to work on developing a unified voice that supports the project, whether it's going back to the voters for additional funds or continuing to seek federal funds to support the completion of the project. We're going to have a unified voice to make sure those sorts of things happen.
So Tony, how can the construction industry help public agencies like RTD to get their projects done sooner rather than later?
Sure, that's a good question. Bill mentioned the unsolicited proposal that has just been successfully implemented on 225, and I think that's a perfect example where RTD communicates the fact that they are open to these types of proposals, and the innovation just takes over from there, and all the great minds in the private sector are able to go to work to figure out how to get things done, how to obtain the financing, and move those projects forward. So I think that's a great example. I think that's happening, and just more communication from RTD to the private sector, I think will just continue to spur that kind of innovation and that kind of creative thinking that will help get FasTracks done.
So Bill, what is the key to getting FasTracks completed?
Staying the course and continuing to pursue those partnerships that we've been talking about, the innovation that we've been talking about as well. Keeping our eye on the prize, which is completing the full program and bringing the benefits of improved mass transit and rapid transit throughout the whole metropolitan area. That's kind of our goal. Our team mantra is to build as much as we can, as fast as we can, until it's all done.
Let's do closing thoughts from each of you, and Tony, we'll start with you. What does the future hold in terms of expanding our transportation infrastructure? What do you see?
That's a great question. It's something that we think about and talk about a lot, because certainly transportation is changing. Our demographics are changing, as has been mentioned. Our economy is changing, and clearly people want choices in their transportation options. They want to be able to take their car or light rail or a bus. So options are very important to them. How we pay for those options is critically important. We're looking at things like a vehicle mile traveled fee. For every mile that you travel, you would pay a fee that would be commensurate with providing that service. Because as we move away from fuel-powered vehicles, there's got to be a new way other than the gas tax to fund our transportation system. So we're certainly open to a dialogue with the voters on how we're going to be able to fund these options, and we're looking forward to that conversation over the next few years.
Brad, some thoughts from you on the future?
I'd agree with everything that was said previously, and would just really point out that we're in a situation right now where the need for transportation improvements is far outpaced by the actual revenues that are out there to pay for that. We're in a situation where the money needed to efficiently operate and maintain the existing network is increasingly going to have to be part of the monies that are available to make improvements. And just to sort of echo the portion about changing demographics, it's really something to keep in mind that maybe we don't think about, is that as in this region in particular, we are going to have a situation in the future where we're going to have an increasing number of non-drivers. Whether that's millennials who just don't want to own a car or aren't quite ready to own a car yet, or whether that's aging baby boomers. Either way, those populations are going to be looking for different modes of travel, different types of characteristics, different types of transportation. We've got to be really thoughtful about the types of infrastructure that we're adding to our overall portfolio of transportation.
I would like to thank Bill, Brad, and Tony, all three of you guys, for being a part of our show today. Appreciate the discussion. Thank you to all of our guests, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Metro Voices.